Alright guys, so we have spent time with parallel lines and then perpendicular lines, and today is all about combining them. So we're going to go over our review questions first. So standard form of a line is ax plus by equals c. Slope intercept is y equals mx plus b. Point slope is y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And remember, we can see the slope in slope-intercept form and point slope, but in standard form we can't. So if we see a line is in standard form, we have to change it to slope-intercept form. Number 4, parallel lines have the same slope, but they have different y-intercepts, so they cross the y-axis at different places. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. So remember, the opposite means that they have two different signs. One of them's positive, one of them's negative, and reciprocal means that we flip the fraction. So if we're graphing a line that's in slope-intercept form, we have to plot the y-intercept first and then use slope. If we're graphing a line in point slope form, we have to plot the point first and then use slope. So remember, the slope is always last, no matter which form it's in. Alright, so the first two examples is just practicing writing these in point slope form. So it says find the equation of a line that passes through this point and has this slope. So if we have a point and a slope, we should use point slope formula. So this is going to be y plus 5 equals negative 20 over 3 x minus 3. So remember, these are always opposite. And now we are going to distribute. So we have y plus 5 equals negative 20 over 3x plus 20. And when we subtract 5 from both sides, we're going to get y equals negative 20 over 3x plus 15. And that's all we have to do for that one. For the next example, it's the same thing. They want us to find the equation of a line. They're giving us a point. They're giving us slope. So let's use the point slope formula. So we have y minus 2 equals 3/5 x plus 11. So now we distribute. So we have y minus 2 equals 3/5 x plus 33 over 5. We're going to add 2 to both sides, and we get y equals 3/5 x plus 43 over 5. All right. Now we're going to start finding lines that are parallel and perpendicular to the lines that they're giving us. So since we're mixing these two types of problems together, we really have to read the problem. So this next example says that we want to find the equation of a line that goes through this point, 2, 5, that is parallel to this line, y equals 3x plus 6. So they just gave us line number 1. So this is line number 1. And we need to find line number 2, and it has to be parallel. So remember, why do we need line number 1? What are we stealing from it? We are stealing slope. So the slope of line number 1 is 3. So I'm going to put that right underneath the point. And remember, any number can be written over 1. So this slope is 3 over 1. So here's the point and the slope that I'm going to need for our problem. So now we use point slope form. So we have y minus 5 equals 3 over 1 x minus 2. Then we distribute, so we have y minus 5 equals 3 over 1x minus 6 over 1. Add 5 to both sides. So we have y equals 3 over 1x plus negative 1. Now you can write that as just y equals 3x plus negative 1. That's fine. So this is line number 2. So here was line number 1. Here was line number 2. Now we need to graph. So if we look at line number 1, think about what do we graph first. We always graph the y-intercept, which is 6. So I'm starting in the middle and I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I use the slope. So that's rise over run, 3 over 1. So I rise 1, 2, 3, run 1. So that's line number 1. Line number 2 has the y-intercept of negative 1. So I go down 1, plot my point. Slope is 3 over 1, so I go up 1, 2, 3 over 1. And then we always ask, do they appear parallel? Yes, so we know we're in good shape. Alrighty. On the back, look at the bolded words. We have perpendicular and parallel. So number 1, this is a perpendicular problem. Number 2 is a parallel problem. So we have to make sure we're getting the correct slope. So here is line number 1. We always steal slope from line number 1. So the slope is 2/3. So I'm going to put the slope next to the point and box it up. Now, because it's perpendicular, we have to take the slope and use the opposite reciprocal. So our slope is actually going to be negative 3 over 2. Now that we have the point and the slope, we're going to use the point slope form. So we have y minus 3 equals negative 3 over 2 x minus 1. We distribute y minus 3 equals negative 3 over 2x plus positive 3 over 2. We add 3 to both sides, and we get y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 9 over 2. So now we have our line number 1, and we have line number 2. So now we graph. Line number 1, we graph the 5 first. So we're going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, making a point. And then the slope for line number 1 is 2/3. So I go up 2 and to the right 1, 2, 3. So there's line number 1. Now I'm going to graph line number 2. We have to graph the 9 over 2 first. So put that in your calculator. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. So we need to go up 4.5 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. There we go. And then our slope is negative 3 over 2 for line number 2. So I'm going down 1, 2, 3, right 2. There's line number 2. So now we need to ask, do they appear perpendicular? And they do. They're forming that right angle in the center. For number 2, this is a parallel problem, so we need to have the same slope. Now this problem is in standard form. Remember, we can't see slope in standard form, so we have to rewrite this one. So we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. So we have 5y equals negative 2x plus 20. Divide everything by 5. So we have y equals negative 2 over 5x plus 4. Now Now ask yourself, is this line number 1 or line number 2? This is line number 1. We haven't done line number 2 yet. So we need to steal the slope from line number 1. So the slope is negative 2 over 5. Since we want a parallel line, we are going to use the exact same slope. We don't have to change it this time. So now we can go into point slope form. So we have y plus 2 equals negative 2 over 5, x plus 5. Now we distribute. We have y plus 2 equals negative 2 over 5x plus negative 2. We're going to subtract 2 from both sides. So we have y equals negative 2 over 5x plus negative 4. So we have line number 1. We have line number 2. Let's graph line number 1. We're going up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make a point. Slope is negative 2 over 5. So we need to go down 2 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's line number 1. Now we're going to graph line number 2. So that line starts at negative 4. So we go down 1, 2, 3, 4. Slope is negative 2 over 5. So we're going down 2 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's line number 2. And then we always ask, do they appear parallel? We say yes. So we are in good shape. Now, the last two are a little different. Number 3 needs to be parallel. So we know we need the same slope. But let's think about this for a second. If the equation is y equals a number, it means that if we look at the y-axis and we find 7, so let's go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it means that our line has to go through 7 on the y-axis. So that is a horizontal line, which means if we need a new line that's going to be parallel to this one, it also has to be parallel, also has to be horizontal. Now, the point that they give us is 3, 4, and we know that x is always first, y is second. So the y value is 4, which means if we found that point, so if I went to the right 3 and up 4, let's just find that point on our graph. So I'm going to the right 3 and up 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the point that our new line has to go through, but it needs to be parallel to the one we already drew. So it has to go through the y-axis at 4, which means this equation is going to be y equals 4. Now, for number 4, now it's going to be perpendicular to the line x equals negative 3. So let's think about this. If the line is x equals negative 3, that means we need to find the x-axis and go to negative 3. 1, 2, 3. So my line has to go through the x-axis at negative 3. So this is a vertical line. If we need a new line that's perpendicular to this one, it would have to be horizontal. The problem wants it to go through the point 2, negative 5. So x is 2 and y is negative 5. If this equation is already an x equals equation and we want it to be horizontal, we know that it needs to be a y equals equation. So our point needs to be to the right 2 and down 5. So I'm going to find that point. To the right 2, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need a line that's going to be perpendicular to the one we already drew, but it has to go through that point that we just plotted. So it's going to have to be horizontal. Since it's going through the y-axis, the line is y equals -5 because it went right through the y-axis at -5. Okay? So now you're going to have some time to practice these. Remember that it's a mix, so you need to find out if they want a parallel line or a perpendicular line. So if it's a parallel line, make sure you're using the same slope. If it's a perpendicular line, make sure you're using the opposite reciprocal slope. So change the sign and flip the fraction. All right, guys, have a great weekend. See you Monday.